Hello and welcome back to the Green Workbench. I am building a custom corner cabinet in our new master bathroom for linens, towels and such. And I'm going to use a couple of old doors. So this was one of the doors that was originally in the house. We closed up one of the walls in making the master bathroom. We turned an old, I guess it was a bedroom. So this door was covered in at least 3 layers of paint. So I needed to strip that paint. So that's the first step in this progress. It's going to be custom to the corner, but you can hopefully get some ideas from it. We used this door and one other that I already had. And so I'll talk you through how I stripped it first, and then we'll go from there. The first step in stripping was using this heat gun. And basically it was just the tedium of heating it up and scraping, heat and scrape. So the pain in doing that was here in the routed edges, the molding here. So heated up, it bubbled off and I was able to peel a lot, but there was still a ton of paint. But I got the majority off with just the heat and scraping. So that was the first step. Next, I used a semi-paste paint remover, and there are multiple brands for this, and I apologize for the low light. One of my lights just went out on me. Basically, paintbrush that on, let it sit, follow the instructions on the can, let it sit, and then I would scrape or use a wire brush in these molded areas, and then wipe up with a shop towel. And I had to do that about twice for the whole project. Next was some paint thinner or acetone, and use that on those shop towels and just wipe it down and wipe it clean. And eventually, again, that took about 2 passes, but I was able to get down to bare wood. So now I have this beautiful wood door. So you may notice out there in the corner that main panel is still white. I found that was some sort of masonite. I'm not sure if that was added later. That's what I'm thinking. But it's the backside of masonite, so they can't really peel the paint off of it. But that's okay because I'm going to use some sort of metal sheeting on there in my final project. So you'll see how that's done. So I did one side. I'm actually going to keep the other side, which will be the inside of the cabinet. I'm just going to keep the paint on that, and we'll probably touch that up with another coat. Because I was going to paint the inside of it anyway. So now that the door has been stripped, we've got to start making some cuts. So my cabinet is going to come out 16 inches from the wall. I'll have a 3/4 piece of plywood on the back side, and then a 3/4 inch plate on the front. And that plate is necessary so that we have a nice even piece all the way up with the molding. So I came in 14.5 inches and marked all the way up, and we'll go ahead and cut that with our circular saw. I wanted to show you where this cabinet is going to go because that makes a difference on the build. So mine is going into this corner. You see there's an air intake on the floor that I have to make sure still has access. And then there's this wall treatment of barnwood on the right. So it needs to fit in there perfectly. And then also this ledge here, it's coming out to butt up against that ledge. So you'll see when I take you out and show you the back how I'm fitting that in, but how wherever you're putting it is going to kind of change the way you need to customize it a little bit. So I got a little bit ahead of myself in building, so I'm going to go back and tell you what I did. I got this 3/4 inch plywood for the back and the shelves. And so the last when we left off, I had cut the door And you saw the bathroom, that corner where it's going to fit, so I cut each side of the door to the right width, and then I got my plywood back piece, ripped it, and I actually went in and fitted it to make sure that it fit just right. And it actually took a couple of cuts, but I got it so that it fits perfectly in place. And now, because of that air intake, it needed to be a couple inches off the ground to allow air to go in. So I brought it up 6 inches and marked, and then I decided where I wanted all my shelves, and I came up and marked where I wanted those shelves. Once I had all those marked, I took my router and cut set a fence for a guide, and then cut a dado so that each shelf will be able to slide right into that dado. And when you cut that dado, make sure you don't go all the way out to the edge so that it's not visible, it's hidden. You saw that because one side of mine is going to be up against the wall and the other side up against that barnwood wall treatment, I was able to leave the edges of the plywood visible because you're not going to see it, it'll be hidden. If yours is not that way, you may have to cut a rabbet into your door or something so that you only see the door and you don't see the edge of your plywood. So once that was done, this back was all cut, time to start attaching the sides. So I set up the side so that the bottom matches with the bottom of that bottom shelf, and I glued it, clamped it in place, and then flipped it on its side, and using 2.5-inch screws drilled a pilot hole and then screwed in to hold that in place while the glue dried and to give it some strength, and made sure that was square on the table when I screwed that into place. And so now one side is done. And I'll attach the other side, and it'll be time to cut the shelves. Alright, I've measured it and made marks so that I'm drilling into the right spots from the back. The pilot hole. Screws. Pulls that nice and tight. And then I have 3 more to do down here too. Alright, we'll let this dry, and then we'll start working on shelves. Alright, so the last time we cut the dados and we attached the sides. So for the shelves, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You just cut them to width. I have the grain running out and back, cut them to width. They sit inside that dado. Put some glue on the dado, nail it from behind, make sure it's square, and then I put some braces just up under here, glued, and nailed some braces here so the shelf is solid. There's different ways that you can do that, but because of the door I didn't do it all the way back. I didn't do it all the way back, just along the front here for each shelf. And then this is poplar to front the plywood, the lip here on the bottom for all the shelves. and I stained it to match other things, but you can stain or paint whatever you want. So right now it's sanded and ready for paint. We're going to paint it white on the inside to match the rest of the bathroom. And then up here on the top, you can see I ran poplar around the sides and just cut it a 45 up here to kind of frame it all in. So mine sits here in this corner behind this little wall, so it's got a kind of a lip. But then I also built legs out of the same wood, scraps from the door. So for the legs in the front, I just used scraps from the door, and then drilled a hole in the top, glued a dowel in, and then you can see the hole in the shelf there with the dowel popping through. So my shelf is attached to the wall, so that those front legs aren't critical, but just there for a little bit extra support and for looks. So you can see here on the side how I said it would be hidden by the barn wood, and then I had that one piece of the door that I couldn't strip because it was masonite. I cut a piece of mirror, so that's what that is. Kind of looks cool. Looks like the walls keeps going through the shelf. And then I'll probably put a hook there to hang a towel because it's right near the bathtub. So that's a pretty decent angle. So that is building a corner shelf out of an old door. This outside door piece I just wiped down with some linseed oil, and then like I said, the inside is going to be painted. So let me know if you have any questions, any comments. It's a custom built piece to fit into a specific corner in my house, so you can modify your plans to fit wherever you need it to. But this is how you can use basically one door and one sheet of plywood to build a shelving unit. Please subscribe to my channel, hit the little icon to get notifications when there are new videos, and check out my other videos on the green workbench. And thanks for watching. I'll see you the next time.